Hi, it's me, and let's get stuck right into a lens that's super exciting, well, to me anyway, the brand new Viltrox AF 75mm f1.2 XF. It's an autofocus portrait lens which is currently just for Fuji X mount cameras, although it wouldn't surprise me at all if it eventually makes its way onto other camera mounts, and its retail price of only $549 makes it potentially a bargain if it's any good. And I really hope this thing does have decent image quality, because any 75mm f1.2 lens, even on an aps-c camera, will offer you images with stunningly out of focus backgrounds, absolutely perfect for portrait, subject and event photography. A lens like this is a lot of fun to use whenever you find an interesting enough subject. I'd like to thank Viltrox for sending me an early copy of this lens for evaluation, although as usual this is a totally independent review. The lens's build quality is excellent. Viltrox are at the top of their game here. The lens is tough and metallic and a little heavy, with a really nice finish to it, even down to small things like the writing on a barrel being engraved properly into the body. The lens mount is made of metal with a thick weather sealing gasket around the edge, as well as a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is always reassuring. Next comes an aperture control ring. On Viltrox lenses this often turns completely smoothly, but this time it has nice positive clicks to it, every third of an f-stop, which is much more tactile, and you're much less likely to accidentally change aperture there. The click to get it into automatic mode is much firmer, making it harder to accidentally move past the f16 point. Next comes a very large metallic manual focus ring, which turns incredibly smoothly, although the focus motor responds a little jerkily to it being turned, in common with a lot of Fuji lenses in my experience. The lens shows fairly substantial focus breathing, as you can see here, which will be a little annoying for video makers. The autofocus motor works silently and quickly, although, as you can see here, it does tend to take a moment to fully lock onto your focus point, whatever it is, so shooting fast or erratically moving subjects might be a little tricky for you. The lens comes with a fairly deep lens hood made of plastic. The front filter size is 77mm wide, and it does not feature image stabilization. But overall, this is premium build quality and functionality from start to finish. The lens is well thought out and a joy to use, although I do wish that autofocus motor were just a little more confident. Alright, let's take a look at image quality. At the time of making this review, I was borrowing one of Fuji's 40MP X-H2 cameras, and I thought, why not? Let's give the lens a challenge. Fuji's usual in-camera corrections are on here. At f1.2, we see absolutely spectacular image quality in the middle with excellent sharpness and contrast. How about the image corners? Well, they are a touch softer, but frankly, virtually as good. This is really impressive. Stop down to f2.8 for more brightness and slightly cleaner image in those corners, and stop down to f5.6 for a little more sharpness again. Stop down to f11 though, and the image gets softer due to diffraction, although the camera is automatically ramping up the sharpening to try and cope. At f16, the image quality is quite rough. Overall though, it's a brilliant performance on such a demanding camera sensor, and certainly anyone shooting on a 24 or 26 megapixel camera will be blown away. A $550 f1.2 autofocus lens shouldn't really be performing like this. Plenty of sharpness and contrast all around. What a blessing for portrait photographers. Alright, let's avoid Fuji's in-camera corrections by shooting in RAW and take a look at distortion and vignetting. The further good news here is that the lens's image isn't really distorted in any way at all. Vignetting at f1.2 is really heavy though, unsurprisingly. Stop down to f2 or f2.8 though, and those corners quickly brighten up, so it's a good performance here also. In my tests, this lens could only shoot as closely as about 90cm to your subject, not especially close really, but the good news is that even at f1.2, close-up image quality is almost as sharp as at normal distances, and at f2 the lens is back to being razor sharp again. Let's see how the lens works against bright lights now. It's a bit of a mixed bag here frankly, as we are treated to a modest amount of flaring and quite a bit of glaring when lights are on the edge of the image, although using the lens's included hood should help to prevent this. What also helps is to stop the lens down to f2 or so, as I've done here, which does really assist with the contrast. Let's take a look at the quality of this lens's bokeh. On the most part, it's very nice and smooth, as usual for a modern, short telephoto optic, although you can occasionally see just a slight jumbling to backgrounds in the middle distance. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration, which can be a problem for portrait lenses. Thankfully, even at f1.2, any kind of colourful fringing on bokeh highlights is very low. Stop down to f2 and it's just about gone. Overall, well, for $550, this lens is clearly bargain of the century. It doesn't quite have the same level of refined total perfection as, say, Fuji's new XF 56mm f1.2 portrait lens, which I tested a couple of weeks ago, but it's nearly there. And also, this Viltrox lens is about half the price and can actually get you considerably more out-of-focus backgrounds in your images, if that's what you want. This is another Viltrox lens that really took me by surprise by its quality and is sure to be in great demand when it comes out. I can highly recommend it without a moment's hesitation. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I love putting them together, although they do take a lot of work and time. If you'd like to support this channel, then I make all kinds of exclusive bonus content for my supporters over on Patreon. Check it out in the description below. Arrivederci.